If you're starting Amazon FBA and you're struggling with your Amazon product research, I have put together this Amazon product research checklist for beginners to ensure that you pick a product that has a great chance of making money on Amazon. By far, the biggest mistake I see new sellers make is choosing a product that never has a realistic chance of making money on Amazon. So if you ensure that your product meets all of the criteria that I outline in this quite short checklist, to be fair, then that product will have a great chance of making money on Amazon. So I'm going to talk you through this checklist. This checklist is going to be available for you to download completely for free as well. No email or sign up or anything. I'm just going to give you a direct link where you can download this PDF. And as we go through this, if anything needs additional explanation, I'll take you over to Amazon to show you what I mean. So the product research checklist for beginners. First, the search term. Before you start your analysis, you need to make sure you're analyzing the correct search term. Is it the most relevant search term, and is it the highest volume as well? If you analyze a search term that isn't super relevant, there's a good chance the results, the products in those search results aren't overly relevant either. So the data you're going to be analyzing is pretty much pointless. And also, if it's low volume, again, it's not overly helpful. So you want the most relevant and the highest volume. Now, it doesn't mean it's always going to be the highest volume, as sometimes there'll be a high volume search term that isn't that relevant. So let's take you over to Amazon and show you an example. So say you're going to start selling muslins. Now you might assume that these are just muslins for baby, but when you put muslins into Amazon, you can actually see that muslins only has a search volume of 3,500, but muslin cloths for baby is 22,000. And then you've got baby essentials for newborn at 63,000. So this is a really good example because baby essentials for newborn would not be the right search term or niche to analyze for this product because there's going to be a whole mixture of different products in those search results, whereas muslin cloths for baby is going to return search results that are literally just muslin cloths for baby. And I think I saw another one earlier, which was muslin cloths for cooking as well. So that's why you just can't use muslin cloths, because that is going to cover both baby and cooking. So hopefully that gives you a good example of why it's so important to choose the most relevant and the highest volume search term, but not necessarily the highest volume search term. So let's do this with muslin cloths for baby. We'll use it as an example in this video. The next step, top 15. Only analyze top 15 organic results and ignore sponsored listings. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you're looking at the search results, most of these are actually sponsored listings. And we're not really interested in how well the sponsored listings are performing, because you make the money on Amazon when you get ranked in these positions, which aren't the sponsored positions. So depending on what sales estimator software you're using, they should have this functionality to hide the sponsored results from the listings so that you're not analyzing sponsored results. So within X-Ray from Helium 10, we go to filters and we go to hide sponsored results. So now these are just the organic search results. These are the ones that we care about. So let's go back over to the checklist. The next thing, demand at least 5 sellers at between 1 to 300 units per month. Now, why do I want to see at least 5 sellers? And again, this is within the top 15 organic search results. If you only see 1 or 2 sellers in this zone, there's not a huge amount of evidence to show you that this is widely achievable. But if you've got 5 sellers between 100 to 300 units in the top 15 organic results, it shows that you have a good chance of doing the same. Also, you don't want to see crazy high numbers like 500 or 1,000 across the board, because for most new sellers, they cannot afford the amount of inventory you would need to launch a product like that, or the PPC spend required as well. So for most new sellers, 1 to 300 units per month is usually a good fit. Next up, we have price point again. And again, top 15 organic results. And I put a minimum of 5 sellers at £20 plus. So if we go back to these results, this would not be a good fit because there are no products in these top 15 results selling at £20 or above. And the reason for that is just as a seller in the UK, you're importing from China, so you effectively are the middleman compared to these Chinese factories that are selling direct. If you're selling at a low price point, you're not going to make any profit. You've got to be at £20 plus, so you have enough margin to source the product, ship it to the UK, cover the Amazon fees, and still leave some profit in the tank for you as well. So anything below £20, it's going to be very, very difficult. Now, does that mean you can't make a profit at maybe $17.99, $18.99, $19.99? No, of course not, but always run those figures first. But for most people, you're going to need to be above £20. You're going to be selling at £20 plus. That's why we're going to see evidence of at least 5 other sellers already doing that, so that if you come into the niche, you can feel confident that you can achieve the same as well. Seasonality. Check the search volume history over the past 12 months or longer if preferable. So if we come back to these muslin cloths for baby, the reason we look at the search volume history is this is the most reliable indicator of how well this product sells throughout the year. And generally speaking, you want to avoid products that are hugely seasonal. So products that only sell well at Christmas or products that only sell well during the summer, etc. Now, I don't mind if a product has a Christmas peak. That's absolutely fine, as long as the demand is pretty consistent throughout the year. So with this one here, muslin cloths for baby, this is pretty consistent with maybe the odd little deviation there and there. But generally, this is equal demand throughout the year. This is on the 1 year view. And if we do all time, again, this looks pretty good. I don't pay too much attention to the early data. I definitely go by the last year or two. So for me, this product, I would say, is not seasonal. And I think when you think about it, muslin cloths for baby, are they likely to be seasonal? And normally you'll know in your mind whether a product is going to be seasonal if you start selling barbecues or you start selling Christmas-related goods. So it's pretty obvious, but always check the search volume history for seasonality. We then have brand domination. So when I'm talking about avoiding niches dominated by big brands, I'm talking about household brands. So if a customer saw a group of products and they recognize some of those brands as household brands, that branding would play a part in their decision-making process. So the more big brands there are in the search results, the harder it will be for you with your own private label brand to compete. So we're looking for search results where there's very few big brands in there, which, to be fair, you don't very often find in private label niches anyway. And also try to stay away from ones where there are too many Amazon listings, which will be shown as AMZ listings. As again, if you've got 4 or 5 Amazon listings in the top results, they're going to be hard to compete with. Now, if we go down to the next one, fulfillment method. So the majority of listings should be private label listings, not FBM/MFN. So this is manufacturer fulfilled from their own warehouse rather than fulfilling directly from Amazon or AMZ listings. So if we go back to the muslin cloths, you can see here we have FBA, FBA, FBA. There's one AMZ, the rest are FBA. So I'm not too concerned. There are a couple more AMZ here further down. But in terms of the top 15 organic results, there's one AMZ listing. So I have no concerns about this being either competing with Amazon or these being FBM or MFN, which can suggest the product is too expensive to fulfill directly with FBA. So that's what they'll be shipping directly from their own warehouse rather than via Amazon. We then have dimensions. So I've got some dimensions here. And in brackets, I've got a standard parcel. So Amazon have a rate card for their fulfillment fees. And if your product is under these dimensions and falls into the standard parcel or below those tiers, the fulfillment fees are usually fairly manageable. So if I show you an example here, this is the rate card. This is where I took those dimensions from. And you can see the fees aren't too bad. £2 to £3 is what you will be paying. But as soon as you go above those dimensions, things can go up quite quickly. So that's why we generally try to stay at standard parcel or below. Small oversize is also possible, but pay close attention to the dimensions and the weights because things can creep up quite quickly. And related to that as well is the weight of the product. So I always say aim for a product that weighs 1.9 kilogram or less, but you also have to check the dimensional weight of the product. So Amazon will take either the actual weight or the dimensional weight, which is the 3 dimensions multiplied together divided by 5,000, and that will give you the dimensional weight in kilograms. And whichever is heavier, Amazon will use that as the base weight for the product. And again, if we go back to the rate card, you can see as soon as you get past 1.9 kilogram, things go up quickly. So from £3.48 to £4.73 in the standard parcel tier, or in the small parcel tier from £3.25 to £5.10. So that's why, as a general rule, this is what I recommend. Now, if you find a great product that's a great opportunity and the margins stack up and it's a small oversized product or it's above that weight threshold, as long as the profit calculations stack up, then I'm absolutely fine with that. But for most people, these are good general guides. Now, reviews, I've got a few points on reviews, as a lot of people see these are kind of the be all and end all. But for me, I actually don't pay a huge amount of attention to reviews when I'm choosing products, but I've put some points in here for you guys to consider. So I've put at least 2 products with less than 100 reviews or in the low hundreds in the top 15 results. So again, go back to muslin cloths. Let's take a look here. We have, let me just get rid of this bit at the bottom. We scroll over, 117 reviews, 49 reviews. So this niche, I mean, it's pretty competitive from a reviews perspective. Most of these have got 4-figure reviews. So it may be difficult for someone with a low review count to get into the top results. But the reviews, Reviews are much more important when your product is more comparable and very, very similar to what is already there. If you're bringing a new product to market that has a genuine, unique selling point that a customer is clearly going to see in the search results, then a customer's not just going to compare you based on review scores. Your product might have a feature or design aesthetic that a customer wants, and all of a sudden the review count does not matter. So the closer your product is to the existing products, the more important reviews are. And the more unique and strong selling points that your product has, the less important the reviews are. Now, I've also got avoid niches with lots of product averaging 5 stars, which is 4.8 or above. So if we go back to here, we've got a 5-star product here and another one there and another one there, which would probably be kind of borderline in this niche. And the reason being is if lots of products got 5 stars and yours doesn't have 5 stars, then sometimes that can be a tough sell. And maintaining a 5-star average with how fickle Amazon customers are, even if you have the best product in the world, is very, very difficult. And then final one here, avoid niches where most products have 4-figure review counts. So like I said, there's a lot of products in here with 4-figure review counts. So this may put me off this niche, but it would depend if I felt I could come up with a strong enough unique selling point for my product to negate the number of reviews that these products have. And the fact that the top organic seller only has 117 reviews show that if you have stronger other attributes, the review count is not that important because they are outselling these other listings that have more reviews. And the final 2 things, how noisy are the search results? Must be able to visually stand out. So if we go to the muslin cloths and we look at the search results here, they're not overly noisy. It's quite a clean presentation of products. So you could come in here with a product that stands out and you could draw the eye. But some products, for example, I think it's Spice Rack Organized. I can't remember what it's called. I've seen this so many times. Spice Rack, let's see what the highest search terms are. Spice Rack for inside cupboards. Sometimes you get a niche like this where people are bundling heavy with spice racks, screws, stickers, label, whatever. They're bundling so much stuff in there that you look at these search results and a customer just might find this a bit overwhelming and not sure the difference between all of these. So that's why I like to see whether I think I can genuinely stand out in those search results. There's a lot of noise. Sometimes it's a bit more tricky to stand out. And then finally here, I used to talk about profit margins of 30% and an ROI, a minimum ROI of 80%, and then gave you complicated calculations. But it all boils down to this now for me. You want to be aiming to make a minimum profit of £7 per unit, excluding PPC returns and storage. So that would be based on your landed cost, so getting the product from the supplier, shipping it to the UK, and then we're going to deduct the Amazon fulfillment fee and referral fee, but we do not deduct your PPC returns and storage, as these ones we cannot 100% accurately predict how much they're going to cost. So we want to make £7 per unit. We want to have at least £7 clear profit per unit before we invest in PPC, and there'll be a certain amount of returns and storage all eaten into those margins. And the reason for that is if you've only got £3 or £4 per unit to work with, you're going to blow that very, very quickly with PPC returns and storage. So aim for a minimum of £7, and then by the time we've covered this, there should still be some decent profit left for you. And there are some resources and discounts at the bottom of this document as well. There's £100 off the course, Helium 10, click that for the latest discount code, etc. Like I say, this PDF is available for you guys to download for free. There is a link in the pinned top comment, or you can just go to fbaelite.com/, and I think I called it checklist, all lowercase, checklist2025.pdf. So fbaelite.com/checklist2025.pdf. Now, if you want to get started with your own Amazon FBA business and you want a full checklist that covers everything, the entire Amazon FBA journey, I'm going to pop up a video now which will show you how to make your first £2,000 per month, and I'll see you guys over there.